Your entire life is a lie. Upon hearing this, this is not a caution or a recommendation or a call to arms or something that one should feel compelled to go and change. There's no compulsion to jump in the air and say, "Oh no, my life is a lie. Allow me to go change it." Quite frankly, telling someone that their life is a lie or that they're wasting their life or whatever it may be, the effect that these things have on people is negligible. There is the odd and occasional individual who perhaps already feels this way and therefore this resonates, and thus it is a reinforcement of something that perhaps he already feels, and for that reason a resonance occurs. But there's no intended recommendation here that one should not live a lie. It is simply a statement of truth. A human being's life is a lie not because he has done things wrong, not because he has made the wrong choices or he has been bad or that he is evil or that he intentionally is wasteful. His life is a lie because all that he is swimming in is lies. From the moment that he came into this earth, all he has heard is lies. And a half-truth is a lie. He has been given the bits and pieces of things. He's been given one fragment of an overall picture. He's been given outright lies. He's been told to do this and that. He's been promised that if he follows this or practices that he will get to X, Y, and Z. And he is told that he should do this and he shouldn't do this. And the entire picture that has been painted for him has all been a lie. And the source of those lies is basically all of his friends, his family, all of society. And in the vast majority of cases, particularly the closer to home it is, be it one's family or friends or those who are close to the individual, there is never any ill intent. It is just that humans do not seek truth. They've been conditioned for so long by lies that they begin to parrot those lies. They begin to regurgitate those lies. What a human being becomes his environment, and if one lives in an environment of lies, the only way that he won't live in lies is if he is so adverse and has such a distaste for society that he completely and utterly walks the other way upon contact. But such human beings are practically non-existent. They do exist, but very, very rare. Humans do not shun society. Humans embrace it. Humans move toward it. And in doing so, they move towards lies. So whatever one thinks are the cause of his problems are lies. Whatever one thinks are the solutions to his problems are lies. The lies extend so deep that even the attempt to solve one's problems has nothing to do with the real thing that one is most effective in pursuing. Even the pursuit is lies because it is based upon a false premise. If one believes that X is the way things are, then he will begin to pursue the X. And since X is not the way things are, then his very pursuit is fundamentally chasing something that isn't true. And therefore, that pursuit leads to other things, and it is one complex lie after another. Nothing is what one believes it to be. Nothing is what it seems to be. All that one thinks one knows are things that he has imbibed from society. They are not truth. They are lies. This does not mean one should change. This does not mean that one should stop living in society. This does not mean that one should wear earplugs or put cotton in their ears. This does not mean that one should stop reading books or stop watching the media or stop listening to intellectuals or stop listening to mental models or stop following prescriptions or stop following religions or stop following spirituality or stop following self-help. It doesn't mean anything. It is simply truth. And there's no attempt to convince anyone of it. If you are invited upon stage, you may ask your question.
Hi, Kapil. I just had a question about greatness. I remember you did a podcast on greatness and how Tiger Woods. Let's use Tiger Woods for example. Do you think he is considered great because how he was born that way, or do you think that he became great because of just that's what he really wanted? That was his ultimate desire, or do you think that's something that's innate in the individual?
I think the things that are. First of all, I will say that I think anything can be attained, but I think the things that tend to be innate are talent and a DNA, a way of thinking, a certain nature. If one has an intensely social nature, if one has a nature and a DNA to follow others and to be swayed by the world and to love socialization, those people don't become great because they're followers. So the innateness is more in the direction of, sure, talent, but also one's nature. There's scores of talented individuals who never become great, who never approach greatness. And that can be seen in every discipline, in every environment.
Thank you.
And this, at the end of the podcast, you just said, I've written it down, like, I'm still figuring it. I'm trying to figure it out. If there is such a thing as happiness, it is found in abandoning the need to have it. I mean, I'm trying to understand it, but I'm still figuring it out. If abandoning is the key, then what should I do with my brain? What should I...
Well, I never told you to abandon it. But the more you... Happiness is a myth. And I don't think that many people... hardly anyone is ready to hear that, because happiness is the center point of everyone's life, and there really isn't anyone who's willing to abandon anything with regard to happiness. It's the entire reason they move.
Hello. Is it possible to discover my own, to discover what I'm truly seeking, if there is even a little amount of fear or little amounts of needs are present in my life?
The attempt to get rid of these things never works. So the question won't really get you anywhere, because you're implying that first you must get rid of these things, the fears and the needs, and once you do, then only then you'll be able. But those things don't work. It doesn't work that way. Everyone is trying to do something. Everyone, because that's what everyone has been taught. That's the prescriptions. That's the conditioning. That's the brainwashing. Those are the lies. do this and do that and get rid of this and become better at that and stop doing this and start doing this. All that crap is just destroyed human beings beyond any hope.
So, what is the real definition of success and happiness?
Hi, Kapil. Is it possible that eventually in the future, science is able to discover truth?
Intelligence and, as you said, nature is limited by our DNA, and then as we grow up, we are kind of molded by our environment, the society, the rules the society has, and all that. Do we really have a say in our decision making? I mean, there's no straight answer to this, but I just wanted to know your opinion that do we really make, is there free will basically? That's what I'm asking, to make.
Well, the decisions that you make really aren't made by you, because in order to make a real decision, you have to know the state of affairs. You have to know what's in front of you. You have to know your real choices. But if everything is clouded, you don't have clarity. You don't even know what your choices are. So the decisions that you make are based upon which lie you're going to follow.
Please elaborate the two or more lines that.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but yeah, talking about life here.
What causes a man to believe that he is his mind? How's everyone's day?
Hey, what do you mean by prescriptions? And could you please define money? Thanks.
Prescriptions are how-tos, methods, techniques, hacks, 5-step plan, 5 steps to be happy, do this, do that, practice this, stand on your head, smack yourself in the face, sit quietly, watch your thoughts, clean the wax out of your ear, pick your nose, whatever it is.
Good morning, sir. I'm from India. Sir, I am like an 18-year-old and I want to know, I want.
I cannot hear the connection was too bad.
What's the best method of making sure I'm happy when everything around me?
In the past, you've mentioned that all relationships lead to more pain and suffering than good things. I was just wondering if you could explain why that is the case.
That's a very complex topic for me to describe in this podcast, but I honestly will say the simplest answer to that is to look at your own.
After reading some of your books about self-image, I'm confused now when I look in the mirror. I don't know what the relationship to that person is anymore. It just feels odd to understand, you're not there to do every single thing that person in the mirror needs to do. It's just very disorienting.
Okay.
Hi. I see everyone around me so happy, and I just wanted your input on whether they're just faking it, or
Or is it practice? What is it?
It depends on the context. If you're trying to learn,
I mean, in any, I want to know learning in terms of any art form, learning an art form. directing a movie or painting, anything like that?
I think it's more in the direction of where the trouble with art comes, and the trouble comes when one seeks, excuse me, didactics, when one seeks to be told how to do it, when one seeks to be told what is the right way to do it, when one seeks to copy or mimic someone else, when one reads that one should follow the routes of success of others. Those things are not art. Those things are mimicry. Those things are essentially plagiaristic. Those things that can never be art. So it really is in recognizing that, as opposed to recognizing that as a poison, and wherever that takes you, it takes you.
What do you consider as a good question?
One that is sincere, one that has been considered, one that is nuanced, one that isn't off the top of one's head, one in which the person isn't asking the question just to hear themselves speak or to get on stage, one that isn't careless and useless, like, can you tell me how to do this? So what's the best way that I can do this? And what's the best practices of this? Those are lazy questions for lazy people. Sincerity and seriousness are things that make something worthy, something of quality. Besides that, a thing is of inferior quality.
Thank you.
Being serious and being sincere also seems like a prescription. You don't have to be anything.
How does one live in silence, remaining in the society? Thank you.
Namaste, Kapil sir. What is the role of money in one's life?
What is the role of money in your life?
To take care of my family.
Then why are you asking me?
What is worth chasing?
Hello, Dr. Gupta. I wanted to ask, what if someone falls off if someone moves away from the truth and they were on a path, what can they do to get back on the path?
Hi, Kapil. Thank you. After discovering your work, I realized that I wanted some material success. I started a business, and I found all the material success that I wanted. And as I've pursued truth, one day I had, I don't know what you call it, a dream or a vision or whatever, where I felt like I saw an emptiness that I could never describe at the base of reality, and it scared me. It scared me so bad that I stopped seeking truth, because I felt like a kid that had seen all of its presents before Christmas, and it ruined the fun, it ruined the game. And my question is, now I'm just stuck between the game being ruined and being afraid of that really being the truth. If one reaches the end of that path and understands the truth more fully, is the effect of that the fear goes away? I would imagine the game is ruined forever, but does the fear go away at the end of that?
It doesn't matter. If one is doing something to get rid of fear, then it doesn't mean anything anyways, because there's an ulterior motive, therefore it isn't pure.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for sharing your insights. Since life is a lie, and therefore the self is also a lie, where does the true desire comes from? Thanks.
Well, it sounds like you're taking my word for it. I didn't say life is a lie. I said your life is a lie. And that doesn't need to be taken at face value. That's something that you have to examine for yourself to see. You can't just take it at face value, because if you did, then you'll just say, well, you said this, and therefore, since that's the case, then what do I do now? And then that'll just be one question after another for the rest of your life, because you just took my word for it. There's no belief here. Don't raise your hand unless you have a question.
Is there truth beyond understanding oneself to the deepest level and how the world around you works?
So, as one grows older, what they were sincere or serious about may change too. Is there such a thing as arriving at full sincerity, or is it a never ending journey?
Well, the first part of your question is true. Sincerity and seriousness do evolve, and the things for which it is linked to also evolves, if it ever occurs at all. But your question is does full sincerity or seriousness ever happen?
Right. Is it a never ending journey, or is there arriving at a.
Well, there's full is irrelevant. It's really sufficient. A sufficient degree of seriousness or sincerity is required to achieve anything in life. And the more momentous and the more prodigious and the more lofty the thing that one is seeking, then the more the requisite seriousness and sincerity becomes.
Hi, I have a question. Do you think is there any logical explanation of all this?
Namaste. I wanted to understand how to deal with detachments.
Is seriousness and humor, or are seriousness and humor mutually exclusive?
Is truth didactic? Can it be taught?
Truth can be taught, but it really depends upon the DNA and the degree of longing of the one who seeks to be taught.
Hello, Kapil. I appreciate you doing these podcasts. How does one identify another sincere individual?
Well, it doesn't really matter. It only matters if you're sincere.
When one is aware of the truth, that his entire life is based off of lies, does this awareness help with arriving on a serious endeavor? And if so, why?
Your question sounds like you're reading out of a book. Number one, there's no if this and will that happen if I go there. If one seeks to experience this, if one seeks to explore this, then the movement towards it in a genuine way is the only way. It's not a window shopping, that if I go there, what's going to happen?
Hey, Kapil. Basically, I went all in on my dream. I made it come true. Now I'm done with that for about a year, and I feel pretty dead inside, and I'm trying to understand what to do. Like, am I supposed to be running at 100 miles an hour all the time? And will this ever end?
You can run at 100 miles an hour if you like. There's no what to do.
Hi.
Thanks for taking me in. So my question is that lately I've been focusing a lot more on myself and I've been achieving quite a few things professionally, personally. But at the same time, I've been finding myself in a constant loop of comparing myself to others. And this is not something that happened previously, but right now, as I grow more ambitious and I do bigger things, that is something that is happening to me. So, how do I tackle this?
To the earlier question, you said knowing the truth depends on DNA. What do you mean by that?
What don't you understand about that?
Sorry?
You didn't hear what I said?
No.
What don't you understand about that?
I mean, everybody's DNA is not same, right? Then if you don't have this the specific DNA that you're talking about, how will one arrive at the truth? That means everybody is like out of the race, right? Is that so?
If you don't have the DNA, if you don't have the DNA to be a mountain climber, if you don't have the DNA to put up with 80-mile-an-hour winds on an icy cliff at harsh cold with low oxygen, if you don't have the DNA to withstand that and to do what it takes to climb the mountain, will you be a mountain climber?
No.
So does that mean that you won't be anything? No. But it means that mountain climbing is not for you. But there may be other things for which you do have the DNA for. But most human beings don't have the DNA to seek truth. So that's just true. So you may not like the answer because you're used to books telling you that everything is good and just think positive and think happy thoughts and one day you'll get there and practice this and that and do all this crap. But the reality is, if you go to the cemetery and 5 minutes before everyone dies, if you go to the hospital or you go to any place in which people are dying, and 5 minutes before they die, ask them, are you on the verge of truth? Have you ever sought truth? And out of 1 million people that you interview, find the numbers. So there's your answer. So there's no hope and you one day all will be fine and you'll get there and just keep practicing and keep your chin up and think of the bright side. All that is complete crap. Those are all lies. It's not true. It's not true. The vast majority of human beings will live a stupid life, completely ignorant, chasing social ideals, chasing idiotic things. They will completely and utterly waste their life. And I'm not saying that watch out that you will waste your life unless you do this. There is no unless. You will. Now, am I talking to you specifically? No, because I don't know you. But if you look at the numbers, 99.999%. Now, you may be the 0.000001%. I can never say that you're not. I don't know you. You might be. But the fact remains that this hope idea that just put your head in the sand and buy a book called Hope and flip through the pages and one day you'll just get there. Those things just sound nice because human beings don't like to know the truth. They want things that sound nice. That's why bumper stickers sell. That's why bumper stickers are shiny. They're colorful. They're gold plated. But that's just not true. And it isn't true because I say so. It's because the evidence says so. So there's some mild, almost fear and outrage in your question that if I don't have the DNA for it, then that means that I'm just not going to get there. That's just not acceptable. Well, it may not be acceptable to you, but it's just the fact.
Hi, Kapil. I can't say for everyone, but for me, I completely agree with you that my life is full of lies. The system, the ideologies, it's complete lie. But can you tell me why did we, after these many generations of thinking in different cultures, why did we get to a life of lies and not the truth? Thank you.
Well, this many generations of lies.
Yeah, but
you said this many.
Okay.
You said this many generations of thinking.
Yes.
The thinking was all lies. So all these things are passed on from through generations.
But
it can't. You're too quick to respond.
So sorry, I'm listening.
Okay. So if you ask a question and you hear the answer, then you either don't ask the question or don't listen to the answer. If you're going to keep coming back with a retort, that means you're not listening to the answer. Not that you should, but then why do you ask the question?
Sorry, please continue.
Human beings do not seek truth. So in any given generation, how many are seeking truth? 1, 3, 3.5, 4.375? Okay. So if only 4.375 individuals in every generation are seeking truth and the rest are all lies, then what's going to get passed on? Things don't evolve towards betterment. They devolve towards degradation. If you look at society, society is getting worse with every generation. It's not getting better. It's getting worse with every generation. If you look at the children of each generation, they're more and more stupid. They're not more and more intelligent. They're more and more intelligent as to how to play video games and figure out computers, but they're more and more dull. And the reason is because the society in which they're not their fault. The society in which they are born to is more and more dull. Each successive society, each successive generation values the lower and the lower and the lower. That's why all the books that are published are trash. That's why the bestseller lists are full of trash. That's why trash sells. That's why every movie that's put out is all about special effects and curse words. It isn't quality. It isn't art. That's why sports has gone downhill. Everything with every generation goes downhill. So your question was a surprise that, well, with every generation, after all this thinking, why would we still be living in lies? And your implication was that with each successive generation, through all that thinking, that there should be a movement towards higher things. There should be a movement towards something that's more evolved, when it's completely the opposite. If you look at society, everyone is more comfortable today than they were 100 years ago. And yet the comfort increases, but the stupidity also increases. Humans are dull. Humans are beer drinking, bar chasing creatures. They are lower than the low. They have become the lowest in the history of human civilization. And 5 generations from now, you might have super duper computers and you might have jets which fly you to the moon, but those who ride those jets will be idiots. They'll be even more idiotic than they are today. And there'll be even more beer drinking going on those jets than there are today. So with each passing generation, it is lies that are taken to an exponential level. There's your answer.
Thank you.
Hey, Kapil, how you doing? In regards to what you just mentioned about comfort being a technology a thing with time, will there be, for the people that self-discipline themselves and are rigorous self-discipliners, is there any truth to that, or is that just an illusion that they're making up for themselves?
Self-discipline, what do you mean by self-discipline? What does that mean?
Like the fad of new people, I guess, like the new guru who is obsessed with like extreme rigid discipline in their life, whether it's like physical fitness or like sticking to like.
Well, I mean, you don't have to go to even to that detail. Basically, if an individual is interested in society, if he's interested in the culture, if he's interested in the technology, I don't mean if one has technology is his craft and he's interested in it from a profession standpoint. I don't mean that. I mean in terms of believing that technology is going to make him a better person or make him evolve, or have some idiotic app which makes you meditate, or thinks that an app can actually make you think better or be more calm. They just these stupid ideas that are so insane, laughable. A person who is amenable to these things, a person who who craves or moves towards intellectualism and reads the latest books about those wearing togas and stoicism to make themselves sound smart, those who subscribe to society and to the world and to all of the disciplines of the world, you don't have to go to the level of, well, fitness or this or that. You don't have to go to that detail. I mean, just generally, those who subscribe to the world of people and their beliefs and their systems and politics and the media and just the whole thing as a whole, that individual who was moved and swayed by those things, who lends more than 2 ears to those things, that individual will just devolve along with the rest of everyone. Everyone is basically doomed. And the only way not to live a fiery hell of a life and to die stupid and ignorant, having achieved nothing of any substantive value, is if you're complete contrarian. Not for contrarian's sake, but because one recognizes the superfluousness and the superficiality and the cosmesis of society in his heart. If that that's a DNA, that sort of thing is a DNA. Usually it's an individual who moves against everything. He's just against everything, and he can never pinpoint where that came from. It's just a DNA. So it isn't even self-discipline. That's a societal idea. That's an intellectualism. That's a how to discipline yourself. Make sure you have a routine and morning routines, and make sure you eat avocado toast, and make sure that you breathe properly in the morning, and make sure that you have an ice bath, and all these idiotic things. There's no discipline, because those are also societal movements. It is a natural inclination without choice of turning one's back on the idiocy of society by recognizing that all of life in the world, all of the world is a circus. And anything short of that, using fancy words like self-discipline, is not a movement away from that. It's a movement directly into it.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you so much for taking the time to answer these questions. So my question is, when I was reading the book, The Master's Whisper, there was a thing in it that says that it's not about doing, it's about understanding. And I was reading Atmamun, and there was an exercise where it said, try to think for a moment that you're not yourself. And that moment felt like, of course, I cannot explain it. And since when I read this part, and I'm trying to attach myself with this inner me, I'm just having this voice from within screaming that it's like I'm made for I'm made to do something great in my art, and this is making me very restless, very emotional. And then at the same time, it feels like.
So what's your question?
My question is, what should I do about this voice? So is it because is there no doing?
If you're going to ask what to do, if you're going to ask how to, if you're going to ask how to deal with, don't raise your hand.
Hi, Kapil. My question is, what is the purpose of asking questions when truth can't be delivered in words?
Truth can be delivered in words.
Okay.
Or the ego?
If you view it as an ideal, yes. That's why it's all about understanding. And the trouble is that when people read my work, they prescriptionize it. They don't try to understand what I'm saying, and I go to endless lengths to convey that this is nothing is a prescription. But there's nothing that I can do if someone reads something and they, for instance, hopelessness, and they turn it into an ideal, and they say, well, I must now become hopeless. And you have to read the essence. Everyone's become so robotic because they've been taught to be a robot that as soon as you look at something, you find the take-home message, and then you go practice that. And that idiocy doesn't go anywhere. It just makes ignorance. So it isn't about taking what I say. I don't understand how anybody can read my work and think that anything about it is prescription. I simply don't understand that. It's all about understanding. It's all about, there's nothing that I say to do ever, but you can turn anything into a doing. I can use the word the, and you can go practice the-ing.
Okay, you say it's all about understanding. What are you trying to get across?
Well, wait a minute. No. I don't believe me. If to you it isn't about understanding, okay. Don't believe me.
No, I know.
Don't base it upon what I said. Don't base it. Your first words were, okay, you say it's all about understanding. Game over. No question.
A few questions ago, you were talking about how generations were getting dumber. I just want to know, was there ever a point in human history in which
it doesn't matter. Do you live in human history? You live right now, so who cares? I'm not interested in the history lesson. This is not classroom. What do you care? There's no multiple choice exam. So what if, yes, there was in 1295, there was. So what? So what? How is this anything besides trivial pursuit?
How do I become more self-aware and aware of others?
Did you not hear me earlier when I said that if you have a how-to question, don't raise your hand?
Hello, Kapil. Pleasure to hear your voice, my friend, as always. I have no question. I just want to thank you for putting me on the path to see that my entire life was a lie over, 10 years ago. And it took a lot of time for me to truly understand your writing and your point. I'm still understanding, tell you the truth. The sincerity is always there. I just want to let you know that I be forever grateful. What I have learned these past 6 months has been life-changing, and I think that it helped me understand how my life as a doctor before was totally a lie, because I was chase after chase. Like I was like a machine doing things automatically, competing, trying to better others. But now for the last 6 months, I am so grateful to you, because I have found that when my life slowed down tremendously, is slowing down every day, and sometimes I just go find a place alone, a meditative spot around a lake or something, and slow everything down with long observation time before doing anything. I have my sketchbook, my plein air, painting material. I just give it the process infinite time. And I am not in a rush. I am whatever. I can make a painting out of a day, or I may not, but doesn't even matter anymore. So I don't know how to thank you. I be forever grateful. I am so happy that our path crossed. I wish nothing but the best for you and your family, and I am aware of the good things about that, Aman, and everything. Man, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
My life is like very slowed down, and it was a lie before. You were totally right. It was a total lie, because I wasn't living. Really, it wasn't a life. It wasn't a life. I was in a prison made by my mind, I guess. But now it's
Thank you.
Thank you, Kapil. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Life is painful. And it deserves seriousness. Because the one life that a human being has is the only life. It is the only thing he has in this world. It's just his life or her life. It is serious business. To insult one's life by chasing how-tos, to insult one's life by trying to read a book or listen to someone to give them a 5-step plan or a method or a hack. It is so demeaning to one's own self. It is so diminishing of the value of one's life. It is like attempting to build a crib for one's child and trying to read a how-to book and put all of one's faith in the how-to book in making a safe crib for the infant. Nobody would do that because the infant is important to the individual and one could not risk that. Yet human beings risk their lives every day. They insult their lives every day by relegating them to reading magazine articles and 400-page books about self-help. That's how little human beings think of their lives. There is no seriousness in this world. There is no sincerity in this world. And this is why humans live lives that have no value whatsoever the way they are living them. That is why anxiety and pain and disappointment and fear and misery and suffering are the order of the day. And the world and its minions and their spiritual gurus with their meditation and their incense and the whole gang comes to sprinkle their nonsense upon things that are serious problems, deep and serious pains that humans have, and to come and diminish them by telling them to go meditate, by putting them into exile, into a corner, and saying, go practice mindfulness, you'll be fine. It is the height of hypocrisy, and it is an insult to the value that is a human life.
Does a conditioned mind always make decisions that are impure, so ultimately leading to problems?
Hey, Kapil. Thank you for doing this. I just have a tweet I want you to a bit more explanation.
I'm not going to elaborate.
Okay.
What is the purpose of life?
It has no purpose.
Eightfold Path, what the Buddha expounded is a prescription. So does that mean like all of these monks who have ordained are basically copycats of the Buddha?
Well, is this a real question or is this an outrage?
This is an outrage because...
Okay, so if it's an outrage, I'm not interested in your outrage. So clearly, what you're saying is you don't agree with that. Is that right?
Yeah, it viscerally doesn't sit.
Okay, I don't care. I'm asking you simply. You don't agree with that, right?
No.
So I don't care that you don't agree. And I never asked you to believe it.
So can understanding and sincerity be transient, and can previous conditioning take over whatever breakthroughs one has made?
Well, if sincerity can be transient, I mean, it all depends upon the person. But understanding, these are just words, right? But generally, if one really understands something, then they understand. I mean, if one calls it understanding, but they actually memorized, or they actually believed, or opined, or they took someone's word for it, then they could cover that up and call it understanding. But if one really understands something, it tends to be with them. It tends to stay.
Do the philosophical teachings of Albert Camus on how life is absurd, does that resonate with you?
I have no idea who that is, and there's no point in asking me a question about somebody else. You can ask them, and if they're not alive anymore, then ask somebody else because I'm not interested.
Do you think?
Thanks, Siddha. My question is, I've read your knowledge and heard talks about digital addiction, and I mean, my entire life is that for like years now. I understand the harms of it, but I just cannot put my phone or my computer down. It's like I'm helpless.
There's nothing that I can say to help you how to do that.
Does a life of celibacy bring honor to one's life?
There is no honor.
I had a question about thoughts. So why do like certain thoughts arise in certain critical place?
View, if life has no purpose, what is the purpose of?
Well, why do you say if life has no purpose? You said that because I said that, right?
Right, because I'm inquiring about.
Okay, so but that isn't your experience. That isn't what. It only matters what resonates with you. It doesn't matter. I could say anything. I could say the moon is in your backyard. It doesn't mean anything, right? So
I agree with you on
it. Doesn't. So don't believe me and say, well, since you said this, then I have a question about that, because then there's no foundation. You're asking based upon something that is not even yours.
So this happens to be mine as well, independent from you saying it. I agree. Life has no purpose. What I'm curious about is, starting from there, how do you get to the importance of taking life so seriously, as you were mentioning before? And
everything is about context, and so you have to understand what I'm saying. And it's very difficult for someone to understand if they're new here, and which I imagine that you are, because I've never said anything about taking life serious. The English language, has context, and the words, when you put them together in a certain way, they mean something other than simply the sum of the words. So, for instance, if I say to you, "Who do you think you are?" that will sound derogatory. That will sound like an attack, because in the English language, when you put that phrase together, that's in the vernacular. That's what it usually means. But if I ask it innocently, which no one ever does, it will never come across that way. It'll come across an attack. Like, why are you asking me that? In the same way,
so that makes sense.
You assumed that what I said was that you must take life seriously. And that is a phrase. Each of those words have their own meaning, but when you put them in that context, it's the same as asking, who do you think you are? I never said anything about taking life seriously or not seriously. I said that life, because it is filled with suffering and misery and anxiety, human beings have real problems. And therefore, in order to get to the bottom of things, one must be serious. One can't take a fleeting approach at them. One cannot just swipe them away using nonsensical things. That is very different than saying, take life seriously or not seriously. That's a whole other context.
Hi, Kapil. What is the father problem or a master problem upon which most of the problems exist for human beings? I mean, after identifying the which problem, can I fix most of the problems?
Well, I would say one of the foundational things that a human being absolutely, I'm going to say has to get over, but by saying has to get over, it doesn't mean that they should. It just means if they have any chance of moving towards truth, that must happen. Not that they should do it, but that is prescriptions. And that's something that basically almost no one will ever get over because it's too deep in the water. It's too ingrained inside of a human being. It's in the blood.
Hello, sir. After being exposed to your work, the part about the prescriptions really resonated with me, and that's the one thing that I've been able to, sort of get rid of very naturally and very easily. Because there's something inside of me that always that it just kind of worked. After that, I've continued to expose myself to your work again, just naturally drawn to it. But I keep waiting for like the next step of understanding, and it's not coming. And I'm just, and I don't want to interfere with like the natural flow of however that understanding might come, but it's a little frustrating that that it's not here. And I'm wondering what kind of
frustrating because it's frustrating because you view it as linear steps.
What is life?
Are you dead?
Not yet.
Then you should know.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you as always. I realized my life was a lie after achieving my professional goal that I worked years to accomplish. And although it gave me a sense of accomplishment upon achieving it, I also realized my life was a lie because the accomplishment didn't do for me what I thought it would. It didn't live up to the expectations of, solving my life's problems. After doing so, it's led me to a place where I simultaneously have a longing to do more, but there's this almost nihilistic understanding that it won't do anything for me. And it's truthfully left me stuck in a place where, like I said, I'm longing to do more, but I have the almost nihilistic like understanding that it won't do anything for me. So I feel like I'm stuck in this position with this conflict between these two ideas. And I have any insight?
I can't help you how to get unstuck.
Is there a measurable goal in your life that you'd like to accomplish before you die?
What do you care? All that matters is you, not me.
Hello. Given good health, basic shelter, what is the most effective use of money? Familial prospects, thrill, legacy, creativity.
Well, I mean, I could tell you what the most effective way is, but if that is not if that does not live in your bones, then that's like asking, what should I do? So it really is about what resonates most with the individual. I could tell you from my point of view what the most effective thing is, but that's completely and utterly irrelevant because it isn't about me telling you to look at things in a certain way. It really must be of resonance to you, not me prescribing to you in any way.
Dr. Gupta, thank you so much for all the work that you do. My question is basically I've been exposed to your work for about a year now, and I feel like at times I've understood that the illusion of the self, but I feel like I haven't fully understood it viscerally. Is there a desire that's keeping me from seeing the illusion?
Yeah, the more deeply developed or the more naturally deep one's desire is for something, and they will keep moving towards that, past all the misunderstandings, towards the end until they do understand. So the answer to your question is yes, but it doesn't mean that you go and try to find that desire.
What self-realization?
Has any role in truth, or because one feels guilty. I feel guilty whenever I feel comfortable.
Well, even growth has no role in anything.
This is my problem, that ever since I came across JK's teachings, I've not been myself lately. I think I have become more miserable and less ambitious. This affected me in a negative way. Like I lost focus on my goals. Everything seems pointless and meaningless, and I don't understand, why this is happening. And this is my problem right now. I'm facing. Do you have any answers for that? Thank you.
No, I have nothing that I can tell you to do. But the more one realizes the truth about things, the more he is apt to recognize superfluousness in places where he once saw significance.
Hi, Kapil. My question is, what is the reason for dissatisfaction or unfulfillment in life?
Well, there's many reasons. What one chases is a lie. One's belief systems are a lie. Everything about one's life is founded upon things that are not true. So how can there be satisfaction? If one believes that if one is thirsty for water and they're given a cup of sand and they drink the sand because they've been told by the gurus and self-help books and spirituality that drinking sand will quench your thirst, how could that lead to contentment or satisfaction?
When did you realize that your answers were true or final?
November 23rd. Does that do anything for you?
Yes.
Good.
Kapil, last time I was on, we were speaking about truth. And I just wanted to ask, do you believe, or sorry, you don't believe, is consciousness a fundamental truth?
What does consciousness mean? What do you mean by is consciousness a fundamental truth? What does that mean? Right now, are you conscious?
I am conscious. And
so is that true then? So is that a true thing, or are you lying that you're conscious, but you're really unconscious?
I think it is a truth.
So you think it's a truth? So right now you could be knocked down on the floor unconscious, but you're still speaking to me?
No, it is true.
Then I don't understand.
Hello?
Hello. So my question is like when you are choosing for a partner, so what you will prioritize, like finding a good human or finding an ambitious human?
This is my first time listening, and let me say right off the bat that I'm not familiar with your work, but I've been listening now for about an hour. And I want to see if I understand you correctly based on, how we're using the language. From my perspective, it seems to me that I have many lives, and that it's an illusion that I define myself by a certain name, which I try not to define myself by a certain name or anything like that, and really just to like live in the moment.
So what's your question?
My question is, do you agree? Do we have the same language? Do you agree with me that the idea that society calls you by a certain name, society sees you in a certain role and defines you a certain way, that sometimes brings us out of understanding who we are and what our life is, what that moment is, and instead tries to like set us on a path of seeing ourselves as connected with the person who had our fingerprints in the past, the person who will have our fingerprints in the future?
Society doesn't. You don't need society for that. All of those things the person does himself.
Hi, I have a question. Do you have any biases that you can get to like you can seem to get rid of? Thank you.
Don't raise your hand unless you have a question.
Hey Kapil, why does the title says your entire life is a lie and not my entire life is a lie? Because all you know is your life, no, and not someone else's. So what makes you say that statement?
If you feel that your life is not a lie, I suggest that you leave immediately because this is not for you.
Hello, Kapil. In one of your writings, you wrote about transcendence, and my question is the understanding of the mind required for transcendence of the mind?
I don't even. Well, yes. If you have to specify what you mean. You can't just use the word transcendence because the transcendence of the mind. Yes, that's more specific. You're asking, is the understanding of the mind required in order to transcend the mind?
Yes, exactly. That's the question.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Why did you write books to tell people not to listen to you?
I don't write books to tell people not to listen to me. Because if you open those books, the title of the book is not "Don't Listen to Me," and every page of that book doesn't say "Don't listen to me." If someone wants to read it, they can. If they don't have to. If they have it, they can burn it, or they can forget all about it.
Do you laugh ever?
So my question is, how does one embody the truth in this objective reality?
Hi, Dr. Gupta. I read some of your books a few years ago, and they're very, very insightful. That time on, I'm basically devoted to a couple of things. My wife suffered a stroke about 6 years ago, and everything I do is devoted to her recovery, to her health, not expecting anything in return. I'm just devoted to doing that. The second thing is that I'm also devoted to understanding what's going on with our economy, crypto, all other stuff. I just spend all those times, and it's like even 3 hours listening to podcasts seems like time that didn't fly. And then I'm relatively free. I'm retired, financially free, live on the beach, do morning walks. I enjoy the waves, looking at waves, listening to birds chirping, etc. But the one thing that always comes up is when I think about when you die, what happens? I really don't know. Where am I?
Well, what happens when you die is an irrelevant question because the problems of life are more immediate and practical. As for your wife, I'm sorry to hear that she suffered a stroke, but as for what happens after you die is irrelevant. The immediacy of life is what begs your attention.
Okay.
Hello, Kapil. Where does devotion come from in one's life? Thank you.
I don't know. Either it's there towards something or not. I mean, why is one individual highly desirous of X and another individual is highly desirous of Y? Where does that come from? I don't know.
Is it necessary to understand the mind to transcend it, or is it possible to transcend?
Well, that question has already been asked.
When will my wee get bigger?
Hello, Kapil. Thank you so much for doing this talk. I've been following your work for the past 2 years, and it's a real honor to be able to talk to you. My question is that when we are very little, we are like, at least for me, I used to stare at things for long amount of time, and like my parents, or I've also seen this with other kids, like they would say that an ideal mind is a devil's workshop. Sorry, an idle mind. But at some point, and so like we are always then asked to go after things, and like so that we are on a treadmill, and then so that we can get to the next step and so on. I suppose my question is like, I see that this is like a necessary skill that parents have to teach their children, like to just get punctual with things and like get on with life and so on. But is there a way for parents to sense that they're doing something that is somehow injecting that poison that you talk about, and like the conditioning? Yeah.
Well, the only way is if a parent, if it's not about his or her role as a parent, because there's no such thing. It's a human being, and it's a human being can only recognize the real depths of the mistakes they make. I'm not talking about spilt milk. I'm talking about one's ways, one's philosophies, the things that one believes in, the things that one subscribes to on a deep level. The only way those things are uprooted is if there is a desire to know the truth. And as I have mentioned, that's an extraordinarily rare thing.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Thank you, Kapil. I don't know if my wording make complete sense, but yeah, I hope that it'll arrive. How do you do the right questions?
My friends keep on telling me 1 ETH is 1 ETH.
Hi, Kapil. My question is inspired from your true disruption essay or writing, and I guess these days I'm faced with a sort of a tough decision where to get to where I am today, my co-founder had to do an immense amount of work over many years, inventing and doing all sorts of research that I guess nobody else in the world is doing, and that's why we have what we have today. But where we want to go, of course, is much harder. To be more specific, we have a durable, dexterous hand, robotic hand today, and it's powered by entirely new technology than what the traditional conventions use. Servo motors. Today we use my co-founder's proprietary artificial muscles. And
what's your question?
The question is that these days I'm faced with a decision about kind of maybe reverting to the traditional way of doing things for part of getting to where we need to go, and titrating out potentially somebody who's seemingly was essential to get to where we are, but not necessarily essential to where we need to go. And I'm unsure if I should be more dogmatic about doing things our own way, with only inventors trying to kind of take things to the next level and not sort of revert back to.
No, because you're looking at things from a prescriptive way, what you should do, what you should not do. It really is according to what you're moved to do.
Thank you, Kapil. My question is why we are
If we are living in a world where everything is about to lie, then why we are living on this planet?
Do you think that your life is a lie?
Hi.
I've been having a harder time detaching from. I found that detaching from family members is harder than other people, like friends and whatnot. And my question was to you: is there any sort of blood tie, or any truth to any like blood tie between family members, or is that just a concept?
Why does it matter? Number one, everything that you said is based upon something that you believe that you should do. Number one, why must you so-called detach from family members? And number two, even if you believe in that, why do you care if there's a blood tie or not? Because if you can't do it, not that you should or you shouldn't, not that it's good or bad. I didn't mention any of this. You brought it upon yourself. So if you can't do it, you don't have a choice anyways, because you can't do it. So it isn't like the only reason that you can't do it is because you believe there's a blood tie or not. And it isn't. And if I told you that there is a blood tie or there's not a blood tie, that isn't going to just flip a switch for you to where you can.
Right.
So it's all conjecture. Don't raise your hand unless you have a question.
Can I speak?
What should a person do if the things that they feel will bring them the most joy may cause deep pain to the people that they love?
Well, your entire question is based upon premises that don't exist. So I'm not sure what I can possibly say to you that will resonate, because you're not really ready to hear these things.
Hello, Kapil. Can you hear me? Hi. I'm not sure I'm heard. Anyway, I've been listening to your work and reading a lot. The question I have on this topic is as follows. I am very often in touch with my mother due to circumstances, and we are very different people. And I cannot accept the fact that she is, I cannot be nice to her when I know that she is supporting Putin and the war and the pain that he is inflicting on others, or the invasion of Ukraine. So my question so we just walk past each other and we talk about basic things like child and admin, but my question is, what bothers me is that inside of me I feel that there is something that is bad about me not being warm to her. She's expecting some warmth from me, but I don't feel like giving this warmth. And I understand that I can't make her change, and it is what it is. But there is something about me that bothers inside me about myself that I cannot show her kindness.
So when the something within you that bothers you reaches a fever pitch, reaches a particular level, then whatever you feel will need to be done, you will do. And until that time, you will allow beliefs and opinions to override communication and expressing or getting along or whatever it may be. And nothing about it is good or bad or wrong or right.
I'm new to this. I recently joined the space, and I honestly don't know your work, but I've liked all of your answers, and I would like you to ask if if you have something in your brain that is telling you that time is running, time isn't stopping, you're wasting time. And if you are very excited to do something or want to do something, actually do it. And you don't make mistakes, other people do it. How can you overcome this impotence that gets into you and you
Hello. Hi, Kapil. So I saw that I've got a lot of conditioning and I've been trying to peel off the layers for some time now. One thing that you said last time that really hit home was examine what your heart genuinely seeks aside from conditioning. And I've been doing that, but I haven't found conviction. And in trying to understand and transcend my mind or like the illusion of self, I find myself in like a loop between multiple selves that often contradict each other. And I'm trying to understand and accept each of these and hope that that will resolve them and get closer to the truth. But I guess my question is this...
Are you an intellectual?
I don't know how to answer that, but do you mean that I have a tendency to intellectualize things?
No. Are you an academic?
No, I'm not.
Are you a book reader?
I do read books, though.
So that's the trouble that you're in, is you're doing all these things. They're all intellectual things.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing really heartfelt or sincere about anything that you said. You didn't say anything bad or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's all just intellectualizing.
Mm.
And that usually happens to intellectuals. And everyone intellectualizes, but the intellectual, there's no way he'll get out of it because he's actually proud of his intellectualizing. That's what gives him his meaning for life.
My question was regarding I've seen your listened to your lectures about there can never be an art teacher. So my experience in terms, I used to like to sing, and I used to sing a lot of songs by myself, and they never really were good. And then I have a teacher now, and I definitely see a marked improvement since joining him. So I'm just trying to reconcile that experience with your with what I heard from you, that you can an art teacher is a contradiction in terms, is what you were saying. So
number one, you should never listen to me. Number two, you must view everything through your own experiences. Don't believe me ever, because I never ask anyone to believe me. Number three, if you have found that what your teacher has given you is art, and that you are producing greater art, then by all means continue on.
So I've gone through a difficult situation in my life right now where I've lost my daughter. She was only 3 years old. And I'm just still in the process of...
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Thank you. And I'm still in the process of making sense of everything, of just trying to make sense of life going forward and not able to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. There is no making sense of it. Number one. Number two, there is nothing I can possibly say that'll make you feel better or make logic out of it. Really, all I can say to you sincerely is I'm truly, truly sorry to hear that.
Guilty of reading a lot of books. I've had the same sort of questions. What is life? Where did it all come from? And where it is all heading? And so I did the usual circuits: philosophy, Western, Eastern, science, including a lot of your books. And I've taken joy in reading them, and sometimes pride also that I understand this concept and I'm explaining it to someone. But then someone comes and asks me, what have you attained? And I realize all I have is words and theories. And even you mentioned sometimes, like, are you a Buddha yet? Or why are you not? And I don't even know what it means to be a Buddha. So My question basically is, after reading all of this and realizing it's just theories and some of it is all non-falsifiable in nature, what is it that one gets at the end of all of this? What is it that the great people throughout history, if it is all true, the stories, what did the Buddha or Ramana Maharshi, etc., what did they chance upon?
Sincerity, devotion. They weren't chasing intellectualisms. When Buddha first went into the jungle, what happened? He was given prescriptions by the ascetics. And for some years, he sat and drank his own urine and became emaciated and ate 1 grain of rice. And he did all the nonsense that they told him to do. And what happened? Nothing. Therefore, he left because it was all crap. And the lesson there, as is the same with anybody who truly achieves anything that is of any extraordinary level in life, it's all about sincerity. It's seriousness. It is doing what needs to be done to get to where one wishes to go. No backup plans, no nonsense, no follow this, follow that. All those people who have followed this and followed that have gotten nowhere. So sincerity, bottom line. There's no getting around it.
I firmly believe that we all are here to survive well, and all. So the question is that, is it the philosophy and thinking that matters, or the practicality of things that matters? That we live here and do certain things, create things to live, to make humans' life better.
None of it matters. Do not raise your hand unless you have a question.
Hi. I've read a lot of books on Buddhism and the concept of Buddhism. I'm a normal person who's doing a job and learning to meditate and do multiple things. There is constant chaos that goes in our mind, and it's just very difficult to control sometimes. What a normal person should do and how one should live life with this chaos, or even if the meditation or anything is not working out.
Well, there's no even if. The meditation will not work. But don't take my word for it. You'll find out for yourself soon enough. So no one, the Buddhism and all isms and this ism and that ism, it's for the common and the mediocre and the masses. Those are things just to keep people busy. It's to keep them occupied. It's like people who they keep the prisoners busy by making them break rocks or do the laundry. It isn't real. It's nonsense. So you can meditate for the next 5,000 years. You won't get anywhere. But you shouldn't listen to me. Does that mean that you should stop meditating? No, because if it's in your heart and you are moved to do it, then there's no reason not to. But you can follow every ism by the book, and the Gita is on every single shelf, and so is the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. And how many Buddhas do you see walking around? So compare the number of Buddhas you see to the number of those books that are sitting on the shelves. Compare the number of Gitas that you see compared to the number of Krishnas walking around. It's all nonsense. Nothing happens that way. Buddha would never have become Buddha by reading a Buddhism book about the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths. It's crap. It's not real. It's just to keep you busy. And Krishna did not become Krishna by reading the Gita. Does that mean that the things that are written in the Gita are wrong? No, it doesn't mean that. Does that mean that it doesn't contain truths? No, it contains some truth. But the individuals who read those books are doing so in order to find prescriptions and how-tos and methods. And in all, the reality of the situation, as ironic as it may be, is that the spiritual books that reveal any truth at all can only be imbibed by one who has already reached a certain level of enlightenment or realization. That's the irony. Because if one has not, those books will do nothing for them. They might as well read comic books.
My question to you is
I can barely hear you. It's very low.
my question to you is that I read Bhagavad Gita and it says that there's answers for every question of your life in it. So, but by implementing it or by just reading about it, I implement in my life basically so that I get all the questions which are there in the book.
Is there a question there?
How do I solve my problems there? I mean, one question, like one basic question, incident which happened.
The connection is very bad. I heard you say that you are implementing it. I don't understand the question.
Yes, I'm implementing it, but it is still not working. That is my question.
Well, isn't that what I just said to the last questioner?
Yeah, but I need I mean, you are at a level like it is the first time I'm listening to this kind of.
Okay, so how-tos, prescriptions, methods, techniques, hacks, pujas, this, that, prayers. It's all crap. It's all lies. It's all nonsense. You can invite every guru to your house. You could have satsang and puja for 24 hours a day for the next 572 years. You can fill your house with incense until your house burns down. You can read every letter of the Gita and you can have implementation sessions and you can follow every single word and nothing will happen. And the reason is because prescriptions don't work. You can't make a thing work if it doesn't work. How-tos and methods don't work. And there are no books that are written, except for mine. I don't recommend that you read them. There are no books that are written that don't prescribe. They all prescribe. Practice this, do this, sit and do this. 20 minutes of meditation. Close your eyes, watch your thoughts. Do this. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, everyone's doing it. They're all blah, blahing. Are they getting anywhere? As you yourself have found in your own direct experience, no. So the answer to your question is, it isn't that you've implemented the wrong thing. It's that you've implemented at all. Those things are not where the truth lies. Truth lies in the sincerity to look for the truth and what actually does work. And the only thing that works is the truth. How-tos are not the truth. If they were, then when Buddha first went into the jungle and he ate the one grain of rice and drank his own urine, then he would have become enlightened. And the ascetics who told him to do so, who had been practicing, the lovely word that all religions love is practice. Spirituality dies for practice because they want you to practice forever. So they were all practicing before Buddha got there. Did they get anywhere? What's the first thing he should have asked? He shouldn't have sat there and drank his own urine and ate the one grain of rice. He should have said, I will do whatever you want. I only have one question. How long have you been doing this nonsense? And they might say, well, I've been doing it for 15 years. Okay, well, have you got anywhere doing it? Obviously they hadn't. Well, why would he waste his time then? That's what's to learn. But even then, you shouldn't imbibe it. The only reason it may resonate with you is because you have found this in your own experience. You aren't taking my word for it. Truth is the only thing. Not books, not ceremonies, not statues, not religion, not spirituality, not self-help. Those are all billion-dollar lies.
Thank you for your answer, sir. I'm truly enlightened, and honestly, I'm going to read your books. Thank you so much.
ask what was the purpose of the scriptures? Why were those written, those holy books, and the Vedas and the Holy Quran?
So is this a question of outrage, or is it a genuine question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what was the purpose of the scriptures. I mean, what
you're just repeating your question. Did you not hear my question?
No, please repeat.
Is this an outrage, or is it a genuine question?
No. I'm just curious. Nothing an outrage or something of that sort.
So first of all, I didn't write those things, so I don't know. You'll have to ask the authors of those things. So I cannot speak for them. I can only tell you the effect of these things. So if one discovers the effect, whether even if they discover that the effect is positive for them and that benefits them, great. Or if they discover that the effect has no use to them, fine. But either way, it doesn't matter why it was written. That's a waste of time, because there's, life is moving on, and one's life is going at every minute. So there's problems and there's issues and there's suffering, and those things are require a person's attention. So why they're written, who cares? The bottom line is, does it work or does it not work? And it isn't for you to believe me. Let's examine it for yourself.
Thank
you. Hello, how are you tonight or today, whatever? I want to ask you a question. Like, I believe in a lot of things that you're saying. I don't know nothing about you though. I just want to know, like, what is your believings? What is your teachings? And I just want to get a more understanding of you.
So I don't have any beliefs. I don't really have any teachings. But if you go online, if you go on Twitter, if you go to various places, if you Google, you can read about. There's enough there to keep you busy for years. If there's something that resonates with you, fine. If there's not, there's not. But all that you need to know is right there. Really, there's nothing for me to summarize for you, because it'll just come across as something that you should follow, or a prescription anyway.
I mean, yeah.
I had a question, kind of based off of the prescriptions 2 speakers ago. I think it was like towards the end of what you said in regards to prescription. So I just wanted to get a clarification on it. So if what you're saying is, how do I say this? If someone is drawn to things like meditation or kirtan, for example, and they find truth but it's natural and organic, and they find truth within that, versus someone telling them to go practice meditation, to go practice kirtan, is that what you're saying is the difference, that you can find truth if one is following their own, or that you will not find it within meditation at all, or you won't find it within kirtan?
Anything that one does in order as a practice or a how-to or a method in order to get something else is false. Right. If they do it because they're moved to do it and they just happen to enjoy it, the same way that they happen to enjoy a walk in the park, or they happen to enjoy eating ice cream, or they happen to enjoy flying a kite. There's no evil in that. If that's what one wants to do, that's a separate thing. But if the question is, will that get me somewhere? No, it won't.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
As a person who's trying to reach the truth, the essence of the truth, or the raw truth, why will he lie to himself? And I'm lying to myself from the past, I don't know what time. I can see myself lying to myself daily. So is it through the constant lies I reach to the essence of the truth?
That's all you know. That's all you know. Because that's what society does. And by living in society, one becomes a repository for lies.
You're teaching.
I have no position, and I have no teaching.
But these people are
Or how do we define, how to distinguish truth from the societal conditioning?
Hello, doctor. Thanks for having me up here. I guess I have a question. So, how does okay? Let me rephrase that. Where does discipline come in when looking for the truth? I mean, does the truth come before discipline, or should somebody be disciplined about the truth?
No, discipline is just a made-up word.
Hello. I wanted to ask that there is a desire to carve my own path, but on the other hand, it looks simpler to follow someone and achieve success. So, how do you resolve that problem?
So I'm new here and I don't know how this works, but you just remove the people who are asking questions that you cannot answer or you think are too little for you to answer?
I don't think that you'll enjoy it here.
I am not, yes. This is toxic. Yeah.
Why is your entire life a lie?
Mr. Gupta, I wanted to know what is the basis of this statement that your entire life is a lie. Is it applicable to you also or others only?
There was a talk given before the Q&A.
Teaching truth, and you've also mentioned it's in the DNA. I mean, I don't get that when we say DNA. Can you please elaborate on that? What does that exactly mean? What's the cause of this sincerity? If that
one's nature, one's sensibilities.
Hi, Kapil. Hope you're doing good. I just want to thank you for the work you do. And I wanted to say, basically, I might be going off topic, but I'm really driven by business, right? I know exactly what I want. I try to be focused on my goals, but I always see myself pulled out of the path by immediate gratification, right? Seeking immediate pleasure. Like I'm easily distracted. I'm easily impulsive. Is noticing this enough? Like, is noticing this, like writing about this enough, or is there a way that?
Well, I mean, what I can tell you is that there's nothing to do.
Mental health, but last 10 years I'm trying, but there is no improvement. So, how from where I should search the truth? Where truth lies in my situation?
It all relates to exposing oneself to truth.
Hi, Kapil. You have mentioned in one of your writings that man is an 11th hour creature. It feels true for me. Is this reason why prioritizing arrival more than the journey works? Because it takes me away from my nature? That is my question.
If one prioritizes arrival, that means they prioritize where they want to go.
Is oscillating between let me rephrase. If, in my interpretation, I'm experiencing an oscillation between self and no self, what am I missing to arrive at a permanent state of no self, and is that even desirable?
Only you can answer that. Only you can answer if it's desirable or not. I can't answer that for you.
Hello, Dr. Gupta. I
from my own experiences, I've come to understand that in order to discover truths that are most acute to a given individual, one has to be in a certain state of being. And for me, that state of being is a state of acceptance as opposed for, say, forceful intent or using my intellect. It's more intuition in that sense, that of being in a state of being in which those truths arise. My question is, earlier on, a person asked about a question regarding society, and you answered that, when you are within society, society then tends to corrupt you with its lies. And by being in its environment, I can understand from experience how that comes to be. My question is, when you discover, or when you're in that state of being, of acceptance, in which you're able to intuitively grasp those truths, how is it that you can prevent yourself from being corrupted by those lies while living in society? Because I only question that from your own experiences, in the sense that you have learnt certain things from experience, which has come to pass as wisdom. You are now in society and you choose to be like that. But at the same time, I sense that you haven't changed that sense of intuition in your state of being. How do you prevent yourself from being corrupted with society?
Well, I don't look for states. As long as you have to look for states, those things will come along once every blue moon. And I cannot rely on such ephemeral and temporary things, such as a state.
I don't really understand why is that you have many times mentioned in your writings that once someone attains no mind, he can have all the fame and money he wants. Let me explain that. It really seems foreign in the sense that the people who are really devoted to truth just know, or sometime will understand on their path, that freedom is the only effective and practical thing they will ever encounter in their lifetime. Thank you.
I don't see if there's a question there or not. And the paraphrase was not accurate because the context was not accurate. I don't do schedules.
That you do. I've benefited immensely from the books that you've written. So one of the questions I had is in the book Atmaman, at the end you mention this thing called perception training, which allows one to own their craft. Could you elaborate on it?
No, I don't elaborate on anything. But I've written about perception training, and I think I might have even done a direct truth podcast on it. But it's too involved, and so elaborate. I don't do elaborate. If you have a specific question, I could try to answer it if I feel like it. But perception training is a very involved thing for me to elaborate. We could be here for the next 4 months.
Hi. I just wanted to ask, the truth that you speak of, is that a subjective truth or an objective truth?
There are universal truths and there are truths to every situation.
Hey, Kapil, I just wanted to say thank you for doing these. My question is, if there's a lack of performance, whether it's in any domain, does that always necessarily mean there was a tinge of insincerity, or is a lack of performance, can that also be a consequence of the natural progression within the craft?
I don't know. That's a very general blanket statement question. It depends upon the situation.
If you have a closed one that's going through a really serious health issue, how do you move on with your life?
There's no how to.
I have been listening to your books and reading your stuff, whatever you put out on internet from last 1 year. And the moment I start reading your stuff, it feels very deep connected. I I have like something within me resonates very much, like from the day I was born or from my childhood days. Like those things really resonates with me. uh, I have asked you few questions before in this discourses, uh, and I realized that the moment I ask you any question regarding anything, and I find myself, I really know the answer, whatever you are going to give me. Answer in the sense, whatever the response you are going to give me. And upon, uh, but still I ask you the question. Maybe because the when you speak those words, what I want to hear, the words become stone at my heart from listening from your mouth. Maybe that thing really helped me a lot. I'm still not close to what I should be, like what my heart should be, what I feel, but it really helped me. I don't think uh, I, I I think this is what I want to say, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And if there should be, what should be the right action? Because every action, what I feel is a result.
I never said there. I never said there should be anything. You just created an assumption. Then you asked a question based upon an assumption.
Is it self-help is against us? Is it because it is a partial truth or it's not timely?
I couldn't hear you.
Why is self-help is against us? Is it because of the partial truth or it's not timely?
If you find that self-help actually helps you, then carry out with self-help.
Is that desire also not created by the mind, or is it created by some deeper consciousness that's inside a human being?
It doesn't matter.
Is the world of desire limited, or where do we go to acquire new desires?
You have to go and find new desires?
New desires. Otherwise, it's limited.
I can't even begin to answer that. The question is so steeped in a lie. There's nothing I can even begin.
Internet these days, they start saying that they are meditating for hours, and then I'm not able to understand what they are meditating for. My friends, they keep saying that they are meditating for hours and hours.
What do you care? What do you care that what they're doing?
Yeah, because I'm not able to understand that what is the meaning of that meditation. For me, meditation is
that's a fundamentally different thing than you trying to figure out how other people are viewing it.
Okay. So
why do you care what they're doing?
Let's say if I say the meditation is simply solving the problem at hand, so does that definition go all in all work for everybody else?
I don't know. Does it? Does it solve your problems? If it does, then it would be foolish to stop. If meditation solves your problems, if anything solves your problems, if chewing bubblegum solves your problems, if jumping up and down 6 times and then taking a knee and then smacking yourself across your face, if that solves your problems, why would you stop? Why are you asking me?
Okay.
Obviously, you have done meditation. Obviously, you've looked at the results. And if the results that you find are those that you seek, why stop?
Hello. Hello.
Hello, Kapil. From childhood, we have been told that we always have to compare ourselves to others, our brothers, and in school and in colleges, we compare with ourselves to our friends. And now that I am on my own, after completing my education, whenever I come upon a truth which I know in my heart is true, but I couldn't help myself but find a reference point because of the conditioning that has been done from my childhood. So I just wanted an insight from you on that.
An insight about what?
I mean, it's okay. Nothing. Thank you. Nothing.
Why do you say the entire life is a lie?
Is your life a lie?
At least now I don't feel so.
Okay. So you'd be foolish to entertain anything that I say. If that's not in your experience and you don't feel that it is, drop it.